I've been accused. I'm under attack. I want you to know I am not a perfect man, but this thing I'm going to fight.
Bishop Eddie Long was a prominent figure in the faith community, revered by many for his leadership and powerful sermons. However, as whispers of scandal grew louder, doubts about his integrity began to surface. In a startling turn of events, his son has now confirmed the darkest of those allegations. What secrets did Long harbor behind his pulpit, and how did they contribute to his downfall? Join us in this video as we delve into the scandal that shook a congregation, exposing a tale of deception, betrayal, and a legacy forever altered. To get a clearer picture of the rumors that followed, we need to briefly explore Eddie's background and the early experiences that defined his path. Early life and background of Bishop Eddie Long. Eddie was born in 1953 in Charlotte, North Carolina, one of 4 boys born to Hattie and Reverend Floyd Long. Growing up in a household steeped in Christian values, this religious upbringing would play a significant role in shaping his future path, though it wasn't always clear that ministry would be his calling. Eddie's journey through the Charlotte public school system was marked by mixed messages about his potential. In 7th grade, he faced discouragement when a guidance counselor told him he wasn't college material. However, this setback was countered in his senior year when another counselor recognized his abilities and assisted him in applying to North Carolina Central University. Initially, Eddie's ambitions leaned towards the corporate world. He pursued a degree in business administration at NCCU, graduating in 1976 with a diploma in hand. He set out to make his mark in the business realm, landing a position as a factory sales representative for Ford Motor Corporation. However, Eddie's corporate career was short-lived and not without controversy. Submitting expense reports that included personal phone calls ended his time at Ford abruptly. He had brief stints with Ford in Richmond and Honeywell in Atlanta, but these positions didn't lead to long-term success. It was during this period of professional uncertainty that Eddie began to feel a pull towards his spiritual roots. The values instilled during his upbringing resurfaced, giving new meaning to his life. This internal shift led him to pursue theological studies, marking the beginning of his transition into ministry. In 1981, he became licensed in the ministry, a significant milestone in his spiritual journey. He continued his education, earning a Master's of Divinity degree from Atlanta's Interdenominational Theological Center in 1986. This formal training equipped him with the theological knowledge and pastoral skills that would form the foundation of his future ministry. Eddie's rise in the religious community was accompanied by academic recognition. He received honorary doctorates from his alma mater, North Carolina Central University, and Beulah Heights Bible College of Atlanta in 1998. The Morehouse School of Religion also bestowed an honorary doctorate upon him later in his career. It's worth noting that Eddie's educational claims have not been without controversy. He stated he held a doctorate in pastoral ministry from the International College of Excellence. However, this institution lacks accreditation from recognized educational authorities in the United States, raising questions about the validity of this particular credential. Rise to prominence in the church. A remarkable transformation began in 1987, the year Eddie took the helm at Birth Missionary Baptist Church, a modest congregation of just over 300 members. Little did anyone know that this would be the launching pad for one of the most explosive growth stories in modern American Christianity. Under Eddie's leadership, New Birth experienced a phenomenal surge in membership. Within a few years, the congregation had swelled to an astounding 25,000+ members. What's particularly noteworthy is that 40% of this burgeoning flock was composed of African American males, a demographic often underrepresented in church attendance. This rapid growth necessitated a series of ambitious building projects. The original chapel, which seated a mere 500 people, quickly became inadequate. In 1991, a new sanctuary capable of accommodating 3,700 worshipers was constructed, but even this proved insufficient. By 1999, a family life center with a capacity of 5,000 was added. The crowning achievement came in 2001 with the completion of a mega worship center boasting a staggering 10,500 seats, located in Lithonia, part of DeKalb County, Georgia. This impressive complex became more than just a place of worship. Under Eddie's vision, it evolved into a hub for numerous outreach programs and community empowering initiatives. Eddie's influence extended far beyond the walls of New Birth. He emerged as a prominent figure in the world of televangelism, joining the ranks of preachers with rapidly expanding megachurches and traveling ministries. His approach to ministry was holistic, addressing not just spiritual needs, but also practical life concerns. The church developed programs to support drug addicts and prisoners, reflecting a commitment to social issues. In a move towards financial empowerment, New Birth even established its own credit union. Eddie's vision for education led to the founding of a school, while a fitness center catered to physical well-being. Eddie's charisma and message proved particularly attractive to young, single black professionals who flocked to his services in large numbers. His appeal wasn't limited to local audiences either. His ministry took him on international tours, conducting revivals as far afield as New Zealand and Kenya. As Eddie's profile rose, so did his political connections. He found himself rubbing shoulders with heads of state and influential figures. A significant milestone came when he was invited to breakfast with President George W. Bush, along with other prominent black clergy members. This meeting focused on exploring new roles for U.S. churches in Africa, highlighting Eddie's growing influence beyond purely religious spheres. Recognition for Eddie's work came in many forms. He was named one of America's 125 most influential leaders and received numerous awards for his ministry. These accolades included the Legacy Award from Big Brothers and Big Sisters of Metro Atlanta in 1999, and various honors recognizing his community leadership and spiritual influence. Eddie's media presence also garnered attention. In 2004, he and New Birth's television production team were awarded an Emmy for their work on the face of homelessness. By 2008, Eddie's path had led him to end New Birth's partnership with the Full Gospel Baptist Church Fellowship, marking another evolution in his ministry's direction. Controversies and legal battles. As Eddie's influence grew, so did the scrutiny surrounding his ministry and personal life. The charismatic leader who had built an empire of faith soon found himself at the center of a storm of controversies and legal battles that would shake the foundations of his church and challenge his reputation. In 2005, an investigation by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution shed light on Eddie's financial practices. The report revealed that between 1997 and 2000, Eddie had received over $3 million in compensation and benefits from his nonprofit organization, Bishop Eddie Long Ministries, Inc. This revelation raised eyebrows and questions about the appropriate use of charitable funds. Eddie defended these financial arrangements, stating that the charity's income came primarily from royalties, speaking fees, and large donations, rather than solicitations from church members. However, the impact of this disclosure was significant. Following the investigation, donations to the church experienced a noticeable decline, indicating a shift in public perception and trust. This financial controversy highlighted Eddie's alignment with the prosperity gospel, a theological perspective that links faith with material wealth. Eddie was known as one of the most vocal proponents of this doctrine, often asserting that God rewards the faithful with prosperity and good health. He viewed his role not just as a spiritual leader, but as the CEO of a global spiritual enterprise. Eddie's lavish lifestyle became a visible manifestation of this prosperity theology. He was known for driving a Bentley and wearing designer clothes, even in the pulpit. When questioned about his extravagant choices, Eddie was unapologetic. In his book, What a Man Wants, What a Woman Needs, he addressed the criticism directly, stating that he owned 2 Bentleys precisely because people got upset about preachers having such luxury items. His justification for this opulence was rooted in his belief that he was on a divine mission. Eddie saw himself as an arrow launched by God into the culture, willing to go to great lengths to spread his message in various communities. This perspective led him to make controversial statements, such as comparing his church to an international corporation and distinguishing himself from the little black preacher who was just getting by. However, Eddie's most significant and damaging controversy erupted in 2010, when 4 young men filed lawsuits accusing him of sexual misconduct. These allegations struck at the heart of Eddie's public image and the values he had long preached from his pulpit. The lawsuits painted a disturbing picture. 2 of the accusers claimed that Eddie had groomed them for sexual relationships through the church's Longfellows Youth Academy. The other two, including one from a satellite church in Charlotte, made similar allegations. All four men described how Eddie had used his position of authority and the church's resources to entice them with gifts, such as cars, clothes, jewelry, and electronics. One of the accusers, Legrand, shared a particularly key account of his relationship with Eddie. Coming from a background of an absent father, Legrand described how Eddie had promised to fill that paternal role, telling the then 15-year-old, "I got you, I will be your dad." This relationship quickly evolved, with Legrand accompanying Eddie on international trips to places like Kenya and Johannesburg. According to Legrand, the relationship became intimate during these trips, with Eddie using biblical verses to justify their closeness. The power dynamic in this relationship was clear, with Eddie exerting significant control over Legrand's life, even encouraging him to move to Atlanta and study for the ministry. The lawsuits alleged that Eddie had engaged in these relationships once the young men reached the age of consent, using his spiritual authority and financial means to coerce them into sexual encounters. These accusations were particularly damaging given Eddie's public stance as an outspoken opponent of gay rights and same-sex marriage. In 2011, 8 months after the lawsuits were filed, Eddie made the decision to settle out of court for an undisclosed amount. Importantly, this settlement came without any admission of wrongdoing on Eddie's part. The terms of the settlement also prevented Eddie from discussing any aspects of the case publicly. This legal resolution left many questions unanswered and opinions divided. In one of his final interviews, conducted by comedian Steve Harvey in 2016, Eddie maintained his silence on the specifics of the case, citing the legal restrictions of the settlement. When directly asked if he had sexual relationships with any of his accusers, Eddie's response was a firm reiteration of his inability to comment due to the court agreement. The aftermath of these allegations and the subsequent settlement had a profound impact on Eddie's ministry and public image. While some members of his congregation distanced themselves from him, many others continued to support him. The controversies surrounding Eddie extended beyond his personal conduct to his theological positions, particularly regarding LGBTQ+ issues. Prior to the sexual misconduct allegations, Eddie and New Birth had offered ministries aimed at delivering gay and lesbian individuals from what they termed as sin. The Southern Poverty Law Center, an organization that tracks hate groups, labeled Eddie as one of the most virulently homophobic black leaders in the religiously based anti-gay movement. Eddie's sermons and writings often contained strong anti-gay rhetoric. In one sermon titled "Back to the Future," he vehemently opposed women in traditionally male roles and same-sex relationships, going so far as to say that those engaging in such behavior deserve death, according to his interpretation of Scripture. His book, "I Don't Want Delilah, I Need You," further showcased his controversial views on gender and sexuality. Eddie blamed some women for turning men into homosexuals and made sweeping generalizations about gender roles and appearances. One of the most contentious moments in Eddie's career came in 2004, when he led a march in Atlanta advocating for a constitutional ban on gay marriage. In a move that many found deeply offensive, he carried a torch lit at the gravesite of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., accompanied by King's daughter, Bernice King. This action was widely criticized by civil rights leaders, including John Lewis and Joseph Lowry, who pointed out that one of King's closest aides, Bayard Rustin, was openly gay, and that King had stood by him despite pressure to do otherwise. Family life and personal struggles. Eddie's personal life was as complex as his public persona, marked by turbulence and public scrutiny. His first marriage to Deborah S. Houston in 1981 ended in divorce just 4 years later. This union produced a son, Edward Long, but was marred by serious allegations. Court records from Fulton County Superior Court revealed that Houston claimed to be a victim of cruel treatment and feared Eddie's violent and vicious temper. The situation was so dire that Houston and her young son reportedly had to flee their Fairburn home to ensure their safety. Eddie vehemently denied these allegations, but the court awarded custody of their then 2-year-old son to Houston in 1985. In 1990, Eddie married Vanessa Griffin, a union that would face its own set of challenges. The stability of their marriage was severely tested in the wake of the sexual misconduct allegations against Eddie in 2010. In December 2011, Vanessa filed for divorce, The situation quickly became a public relations maze, with conflicting statements emerging on the same day. Initially, New Birth's PR firm claimed that Vanessa had reconsidered and would withdraw her petition. However, Vanessa's attorneys swiftly countered this, confirming that she indeed intended to proceed with the divorce. Eddie's response to this personal crisis was to announce a leave of absence from his ministry. He framed this decision as an attempt to save his marriage, stating that he needed time to address some family business. This period of personal turmoil coincided with significant challenges for the institutions Eddie had built. New Birth Christian Academy, which he had founded, announced its closure due to lack of donations, leaving hundreds of students scrambling to find new schools. The saga of Eddie and Vanessa's marriage took another turn in February 2012. Eddie's lawyer, Lawrence Cooper, confirmed to the Atlanta Journal-Constitution that Vanessa had requested the dismissal of the divorce petition. However, the details of their reconciliation, if any, remained private, with both parties' legal representatives declining to comment further. In a surprising development, Vanessa made a public appearance at the Heart to Heart Women's Ministry Conference at New Birth in September 2012. There, she openly discussed her struggle with the decision to divorce Eddie, following the sexual misconduct allegations. She revealed that she had chosen to return to her marriage and the New Birth community, framing her decision as an opportunity to share her experiences and offer guidance to others facing similar challenges. While Eddie's marital issues played out in the public eye, another personal battle was brewing behind the scenes. His health rumors about Eddie's declining health began to circulate as his physical appearance changed dramatically. He lost a significant amount of weight, prompting him to release a video in August explaining that he had adopted a new vegan diet. In this video, he attempted to project an image of vitality, even performing curls in a gym. However, his gaunt appearance alarmed many of his followers. Just a month later, the narrative shifted through a church spokesman. Eddie admitted that he was facing a health challenge. The exact nature of his illness remained hidden, a secrecy that would persist until his death in 2017. Even in his passing, the church remained vague, only stating that he had succumbed to an aggressive form of cancer. The decline of Eddie's health paralleled the decline of his once mighty religious empire. New Birth, which had once been a vibrant and influential institution, saw its reputation collapse alongside that of its leader. The church that had once been a hub of community activity, offering ministries to drug addicts, prisoners, and AIDS patients, had lost much of its former energy and impact. In his final years, Eddie's public image was a far cry from the charismatic, larger-than-life figure who had built New Birth into a religious powerhouse. The long lines of cars adorned with New Birth's purple banners that once snaked outside the church on Sunday mornings had dwindled. The movement that Eddie had created, which extended far beyond the walls of the church, had lost much of its momentum. Confirmation by Bishop Eddie Long's son. In a candid sermon delivered on what he called the toughest Sunday of my life, Edward Long Jr., the eldest child of Eddie, opened up about his journey and the challenges he faced in the wake of his father's passing. Growing up in the shadow of a megachurch pastor, Edward had been involved in every aspect of New Birth since he was just 4 years old. He started as a janitor and worked his way through various roles in the ministry. Despite his deep roots in the church, Edward revealed that he never initially wanted to preach. His passion lay in music and the arts, and he had been pursuing a promising career in media when his father called him to ministry about a decade ago. Reluctantly, Edward set aside his personal ambitions and answered his father's call, walking away from a syndicated radio show and potential music deals, trusting that God had a plan for him. This decision would shape the course of his life and set the stage for the disappointments to come. When Eddie passed away, many expected Edward to step into his father's role as the leader of New Birth. After all, he had been groomed for ministry and had spent years preaching around the world. However, the church leadership had other plans. Bishop Stephen A. Davis was appointed as Eddie's successor, leaving Edward feeling overlooked and undervalued. Even after Davis resigned, Edward's hopes of leading New Birth were dashed once again. He applied for the position and went through the selection process only to be passed over in favor of controversial Baltimore pastor Jamal Bryant. This repeated rejection took a toll on Edward, leading him to question his place in the church and his father's legacy. In his emotional sermon, Edward admitted to struggling with what he thought was depression for the past 2 years. He described the pain of feeling more appreciated outside the church than within it, and the difficulty of reconciling his father's vision for new birth with his own aspirations. Despite his disappointment, Edward showed remarkable grace in addressing the situation. He refused to speak ill of Jamal Bryant, choosing instead to pray for him and forgive past disagreements. This attitude of forgiveness and love, Edward explained, was a reflection of the lessons his father had taught him about demonstrating Christ-like behavior in the face of adversity. He encouraged the congregation to see these setbacks as divine appointments rather than mere disappointments, suggesting that God might be preparing them for something greater. Edward's revelations also shed light on the complexities of ministry succession, especially in large, high-profile churches like New Birth. The decision to overlook Eddie's son in favor of outside leadership twice raised questions about the church's direction and priorities. In recent years, Edward has found solace and fulfillment in returning to his first passion, radio. In 2019, he launched Lit Nights with Ed on Praise 102.5, a move that allowed him to blend his love for radio, music, and ministry. This new venture has given him a platform to reach a broader audience, particularly targeting Gen Xers, millennials, and night owls, with a mix of urban inspiration and faith-based content. Edward's return to radio was not a sudden decision, but rather the culmination of years of persistence and determination. He had consistently reached out to industry professionals, leaving notes, business cards, and demos until his efforts finally paid off. His perseverance in pursuing this dream, even in the face of rejection, reflects the same resilience he has shown in his ministry work. Through his radio show, Edward has continued to share his message of hope and inspiration. He often speaks about the importance of trusting in God's timing and not rushing the process, and about how his experiences have taught him the value of patience, faithfulness, and allowing one's gifts to be fortified over time. The younger Long's journey has also led him to explore new and unconventional ways of engaging with his audience. He launched a monthly Bible study group called Wine and the Word, which takes place in various local venues, including clubs. This innovative approach to ministry has allowed him to reach people who might not otherwise attend traditional church services. The Bible study sessions cover a range of topics, from faith and relationships to the complexities of creation, often sparking heated and passionate discussions. Edward's willingness to think outside the box and challenge traditional norms has set him apart as a unique and forward-thinking minister. He understands that the message of faith can be shared in diverse and creative ways, and he is not afraid to push boundaries to reach those who need to hear it. This approach has garnered him a dedicated following and has helped him carve out his own path in ministry, separate from the legacy of his father. In addition to his ministry and radio work, Edward has also authored a book titled Son of a Bishop. In the book, he reflects on his experiences as the son of a prominent religious leader and the challenges of living up to the expectations that come with that role. He offers insights and guidance to families who are navigating similar dynamics, particularly those who are trying to establish or maintain a legacy. Edward's book is a candid and heartfelt exploration of the complexities of family, faith, and identity. Throughout his journey, Edward has maintained a commitment to honoring his father's memory while forging his own path. He continues to preach at various churches and engage in ministry, but on his own terms and in ways that align with his personal calling.